Narcissists are masters of subtle manipulation, using calculated tactics to erode your self-worth and foster dependency. Narcissism is more than arrogance. It's a pattern of lacking empathy, needing admiration, and dismissing your needs. In relationships, this means your reality is questioned, your emotions invalidated, and your confidence slowly dismantled. The goal? To make you doubt yourself so deeply that you become easy to control. Today we'll expose these dark tactics, following the story of Emily and Adam, a composite of real experiences, to show how manipulation unfolds. We'll break down the most damaging methods narcissists use, their psychological impact, and how to recognize and heal from them. Let's get started. The start of a relationship with a narcissist feels magical, overwhelming affection, constant attention, and grand gestures. This is love bombing, a calculated flood of praise and gifts to hook you fast. Emily experienced this with Adam: lavish dates, endless texts, and declarations of soul-deep connection. It felt like true love, but it was a performance designed to create dependency. The narcissist mirrors your dreams, learns your vulnerabilities, and builds a fantasy to lower your guard. You become addicted to their approval, desperate to maintain the high. When red flags appear, you dismiss them, clinging to memories of the perfect beginning. Unlike healthy relationships, love bombing is rushed and intense because it's not real. The narcissist isn't in love with you, but with the supply you provide. For Emily, Adam's adoration was a gilded cage, bait for the control to come. The praise and attention were never free. They were the first step in a long process of manipulation. When the love bombing fades, you're left chasing that initial high, trapped in their orbit. Remember, if it feels too good to be true, it probably is. Love bombing is not love, it's the opening move in a game of control. Recognizing it is the first step to breaking free. After love bombing, the narcissist shifts to gaslighting, making you doubt your memory, your perceptions, and even your sanity. Adam began denying things he'd said, insisting Emily was imagining things or too sensitive. At first, Emily argued, but Adam's certainty made her question herself. Gaslighting escalates. The narcissist rewrites events, twists your words, and blames you for their reactions. You start apologizing for things you didn't do, walking on eggshells and losing trust in your own mind. The goal is total control. If you can't trust yourself, you rely on them for reality. Gaslighting isolates you, making you afraid to confide in others for fear of sounding crazy. Emily began secretly journaling, desperate to hold on to her reality. This need to document your life is a red flag, proof of psychological abuse. Gaslighting is about power, dismantling your confidence until you're easy to manipulate. The narcissist becomes the sole arbiter of truth, and you lose your sense of self. You're trapped, not by walls, but by a mind twisted to serve their control. Recognizing gaslighting is crucial to reclaiming your reality. If you feel perpetually confused and apologetic, you may be experiencing this abuse. Trust your instincts. They're your way out. Once you're doubting yourself, the narcissist uses emotional blackmail, manipulating you with fear, obligation, and guilt. Adam would act wounded when Emily set boundaries, saying things like, "I can't believe you choose your friends over me." He'd sigh, "Fine, I'll just be here alone," making her feel guilty for having her own needs. You're forced to choose give in or be labeled selfish and uncaring. The message, "If you loved me, you'd do what I want." They remind you of past gifts or sacrifices, turning love into a debt you must repay. Over time, you suppress your needs to avoid guilt trips and emotional fallout. You become hypervigilant, managing their emotions at the expense of your own. Your life revolves around keeping them happy, while you disappear piece by piece. Emotional blackmail is psychological enslavement, your empathy weaponized against you. Recognize the fog. Fear, obligation, guilt as manipulation, not love. Your needs matter too. Narcissists create chaos through triangulation, bringing a third person into the relationship to spark jealousy and insecurity. Adam constantly mentioned his ex, praising her to make Emily feel inadequate. Sometimes he'd use friends or co-workers, saying, "Even my friend thinks you're overreacting." This isolates you, making you feel alone and invalidated. Triangulation makes you compete for their approval, deepening your dependency. The narcissist enjoys being the center of drama, pitting people against each other. Emily felt she was always being compared, never measuring up. This tactic severs your trust in your own judgment and prevents real conflict resolution. Instead of working through issues, you're fighting for your place in their life. The result: anxiety, suspicion, and a loss of intimacy. Triangulation is designed to destabilize and control. If you're always competing for your partner's attention, you're caught in their game. Step back and reclaim your sense of self. In a narcissistic relationship, conflict is met with the silent treatment, a deliberate punishing withdrawal. Adam would ignore Emily for days, erasing her presence without explanation. This emotional coldness triggers panic and desperation, making you beg for reconciliation. The silent treatment is conditioning. You learn to avoid certain topics and suppress your needs to prevent being shut out. The narcissist holds all the power, deciding when the punishment ends. When they finally speak, you're so relieved you avoid the original issue. The conflict is buried, never resolved. Over time, your self-worth erodes. You believe you're only valuable when they acknowledge you. The silent treatment is not strength, it's emotional abuse. It says, you're not even worth a response. For Emily, each episode chipped away at her spirit, making her more compliant and trapped. Recognize this tactic for what it is: control, not communication. You deserve to be heard. After seduction and control, the narcissist shifts to devaluation. Relentless criticism and contempt replace affection. Adam, once adoring, now belittled everything about Emily. The qualities he praised became targets for insults. This systematic breakdown destroys your confidence, making you feel worthless and dependent. Occasionally, they offer glimpses of the old affection, keeping you hooked and hoping for change. This creates a trauma bond, an addiction to the highs and lows. When you're no longer useful, the narcissist discards you abruptly, often without explanation. Emily was left in shock, blocked and abandoned. The discard is the final act of control, leaving you to pick up the pieces alone. You were never a partner, just a source of supply. The pain is immense, but it's not your fault. Healing begins with understanding the cycle. Narcissists use projection, accusing you of the very flaws and behaviors they possess. Adam, with a volatile temper, accused Emily of being too emotional. When he was controlling, he called her clingy. This isn't just hypocrisy, it's a refusal to face their own shortcomings. Blame shifting follows. Nothing is ever their fault. If they're late, it's because you didn't remind them. If they lash out, it's because you provoked them. You start to internalize the blame, apologizing for things you didn't do. Your sense of agency erodes and you feel responsible for their moods. Emily tried to manage Adam's life, hoping to avoid blame. Living with projection is like being trapped in a hall of mirrors, every reflection distorted. Recognize when accusations sound more like confessions. Their blame is not a reflection of you, but of them. Trust your own reality. After discard, the narcissist often returns. This is hoovering, a ploy to suck you back in. Adam reappeared, apologizing, promising change, and claiming he'd seen the light. Hoovering mimics the love-bombing phase, preying on your hope for real change. Sometimes they create crises or use nostalgia to re-establish contact. The goal isn't love, it's regaining control and supply. Their promises are almost always empty. The cycle of abuse resumes. The trauma bond makes you vulnerable, but giving in only leads to more pain. The best defense is strict no-contact block delete and resist engagement. Healing requires space free from their influence. Hoovering is a test of your resolve. Choose your peace. You deserve freedom, not another round of abuse. Narcissists isolate you, not with demands, but with subtle poison, criticizing your friends, sowing doubt, and making socializing exhausting. Adam made Emily feel guilty for seeing loved ones, starting arguments or feigning crises to keep her home. Over time, Emily withdrew from her support network, finding it easier to stay in than face Adam's punishment. Isolation serves two purposes. It hides the abuse and deepens your dependency. With no one else to turn to, the narcissist becomes your only source of validation. Their reality becomes your reality, making it harder to recognize the abuse or leave. This gradual severing of ties is one of the most dangerous aspects of narcissistic control. You may not notice until you feel completely alone. Rebuilding connections is vital for healing. Remember, your isolation was engineered, not accidental. You have the right to reconnect and reclaim your life. When subtle tactics fail, narcissists escalate to threats and intimidation, using fear to maintain control. Adam threatened to ruin Emily's reputation or implied violence by punching walls. Sometimes they threaten self-harm, making you feel responsible for their well-being. Financial intimidation is common, controlling money, hiding assets, or threatening destitution. The goal is to make leaving seem impossible or dangerous. These threats create a constant state of fear and hypervigilance. If you're facing threats, your safety is the priority. Document everything and seek help. This escalation is a desperate act of control, not love. Recognize it as abuse, not a reflection of your worth. You are not responsible for their actions. There is help and hope beyond their intimidation. Narcissistic abuse leaves deep wounds, anxiety, depression, and loss of identity. But healing is possible, starting with recognition. These tactics are abuse, not love. Reconnect with supportive friends and family, and seek professional help from trauma-informed therapists. You are not alone, and it is not your fault. Your empathy and strength were exploited, but they are still yours. You deserve relationships where you are cherished, not controlled. Take the first step. Reach out, rebuild, and reclaim your life.